Before I get into today's video, remember to follow me on Twitter. So my Twitter, the link is in the description below. You can also find me. My handle is @JacksonKruger. Come over, say hi. And anyways, back to your regularly scheduled video. All right, let's talk about Sean McVay. Let's talk about the fact that, listen, there's so much he's accomplished. He's only 36 years old, but currently he has more than twice as many wins as he does losses, and he has twice as many playoff wins as he does playoff losses. He's 6-3 in the postseason, hoping to make it 7-3, needs a win in the Super Bowl to make that happen. Obviously, there's a lot to like about Sean McVay. Probably my favorite thing about him, everyone's favorite thing about him is just the X's and O's. The play calling, what he's able to do. He has kind of, not revolutionized football, but I do feel like football is a lot different now that Sean McVay is a head coach. There's a lot of Sean McVay style head coaches out there. You think about like a Matt LaFleur, a Zach Taylor, who they're going up against. These are guys who I think it certainly helped them getting jobs that we've seen the success that Sean McVay has had. So I figured I'd make a video breaking down what I like about Sean McVay, maybe even what not to like about Sean McVay, and kind of just talking about the scheme itself and what we should expect heading into Super Bowl 56, and maybe what the Bengals could do to try to beat this scheme. So first, let's show just a play like this. So what's going to happen here is it's going to be zone coverage, and you have several plays that can beat this zone coverage. And one thing that makes every play caller better, of course, is having good receivers, and they certainly have that, specifically with Cooper Kupp. He's the only receiver lined up to the offense's right, so towards the top of the screen. He's the one running the route that will get into the end zone. But because you have multiple receivers to the offense's left and a tight end to the offense's left, this now means that for a safety, you can't completely cheat over in Cooper Kupp's direction, although he still is going to pay attention there. Look at how right when this play begins, what you're going to see is that for Cooper Kupp, who I've circled in black, he's trying to get to that edge right there. And basically all you're trying to do is give him a half step. If you can give him the half step with the play calling, he's going to do the rest. He's awesome. Matthew Stafford can make great throws. All this stuff works. So you just got to give him that half step. And with, doing certain things like having players run over the middle, which can get a safety to just be a little bit late in getting over there, and also having your halfback run out to the flat, which can get the corner to maybe not stay deep right away with Cooper Kupp, as you probably should. Doing stuff like this now ensures that Kupp can potentially get open. And, the player I've circled in yellow, the corner who is coming further in, had he stayed further deep, then the halfback route would have been open, and you still would have gained some yards. Not a touchdown, but some yards. And then to cap it off, you do see Matthew Stafford make a good throw. This is why you trade for Matthew Stafford, because he can do that kind of stuff. Goff could too, to some degree, but especially Stafford can. So this is kind of how this well-oiled machine can work, and especially against zone coverage, which the Bengals do run a good amount of, it can, this Sean McVay scheme really shines. Now, the Rams actually play better against man because that's how their talent works, but McVay can certainly scheme up stuff against zone. Like this one's another one, and some of the stuff is simple too. Some of this is creative. Okay, having a quarterback who isn't known for being mobile, still run bootlegs because it can be effective. Sure, all that stuff's clever and fun, but sometimes it's just the simple stuff. Stuff like this, where it's zone coverage, quarters coverage for the 49ers, and you have a receiver who's just going to be running an out route just underneath where that corner is quote-unquote supposed to cover. This isn't anything too crazy. Most teams do this, but it kind of just feels like this is what Sean McVay does. He'll say, okay, this is the style of zone you like to play. Well, let's run the concepts that can beat that zone coverage. Look at right when this play begins, you're going to see that once again, this is Cooper Kupp. And right here, you see that the corner, has to respect a potential deep route. You have to. And so because of this, when you cut back in, you can potentially get open. Now, on this play, while he did get open, Matthew Stafford kind of short hopped it there. And honestly, that's how this comeback happened in that 49ers game. It wasn't like Sean McVay made adjustments and that's what did it. Like, his play calls were working all game. The Rams were just kind of struggling to make it happen at the beginning of the game, but then towards the end, they just executed better, executed the way they had been doing all season, and that's what allowed them to pull off this comeback victory. All right, time for some charts. Let's start off with this one. So what we're seeing here is this is how often teams go for it on fourth down when they should. Now, a lot of people don't love this analytics stuff. I do love it. I think it's very fascinating, and, it can give you an example, at least of this chart, of how aggressive really both these head coaches are, really how aggressive all 32 head coaches are or were in 2021 where you see that, over the middle area, that's where both the Bengals and the Rams are. They're both kind of right in that middle range. So neither one of these guys are specifically too aggressive. I would like to see McVay be a little bit more aggressive. I'd like to see a lot of these guys be more aggressive, quite frankly. But at the end of the day, that is kind of just football. A lot of guys don't like to go for it on fourth downs. They feel like it's too much of a risk. I don't really agree with it, but that's how a lot of head coaches are. But I also figured this was worth bringing up because while McVay certainly is very much a new school head coach in terms of X's and O's, in terms of his play calling, that very much is new and unique. The fourth down decision stuff is not where he kind of, he's not John Harbaugh on these fourth down decisions. He's not Brandon Staley on these fourth down decisions. And apparently the Jets and Lions are at the top, but also part of what comes into play here, sometimes it's just sample size. Like the Jets only have a 16 sample size, so that might be an aspect there. And part of it too is just, do certain situations dictate that you should go for it? Because the numbers might say you should go for it on a 4th and 4, but maybe, one team doesn't go for it, but a team that isn't as aggressive goes for it on a 4th and 1. Stuff like that can, mess with the data a little bit, but still. It's fascinating. Now, this chart I really like. How much will it affect in terms of this game coming up? I don't know, but it's interesting. The Los Angeles Rams and how they use motion, they're 5th most in football, and this is a very small sample size. This was actually only 2 weeks into the season. You might be wondering, why would I use such a small sample size? Well, the data isn't readily available. I couldn't find it for the entire season, but what I could find was this and also the data for last year, and the numbers do kind of match up. So the Rams are right around 5th, unless they've made a coaching decision past this point to not run as much motion, which on tape, I still see plenty of motion. So they run a lot of motion. This can give tells to their quarterback, whether it was Goff or now Stafford, as to what coverage they're going to be running. The Bengals, they don't mix things up as much as other teams do, so it might not matter too much in this game. So maybe you're actually losing an advantage you're typically used to for the Rams. Finally, let's talk pass frequency. These charts are always very fascinating to me. This is how often do you run the football or throw the football. So if it's in red and it says a minus, that means it's under expected in terms of throwing the ball. So if you throw the ball more, it's blue and it's a higher number. If you run the ball more, it's red and it's a higher number because it's a negative. So I guess technically lower number, but Anyways, so some interesting stuff here. So at the bottom, the all plays, they do throw the ball, significantly more than the average team does, 3% more. That's not nothing by any means, because again, the way this works is it's out of 100. So let's say the average team throws the football 55% of the time. This means that the Rams throw the football 58% of the time. That's how that would work. So anyways, some interesting stuff. So they do throw the ball a little bit more than the average team does. They throw the ball significantly more after they run the ball on first down, which I feel, that's interesting to me. Also, the clear anomaly here, I would think, is on second down and 1 or 2. They really go to a run-happy team. They run the ball a lot there. They try to just pick up that first down there. Don't know if I love that strategy, but that's what they decide to do, and, it's working out all right for them. They're in, Sean McVay's back in the Super Bowl. So that's kind of the coach he is a little bit. Throws the ball a little bit more than expected in basically every situation. So, which is good. I think that's probably what you want to do. You don't want to break the wheel, but, it's a passing league. Don't be afraid to throw the ball. They run a lot of motion. Might not go for it on fourth downs, but they do have a lot of great zone busters, especially. And then if you're trying to play man against them, okay, who's going to cover Cooper Kupp? Who's going to cover Odell Beckham Jr.? Probably not a great idea to play man. So, yeah, really good stuff from Sean McVay. As we know, Sean McVay is a great head coach. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.